Intense rain and dangerous flash flooding. Tonight, warnings of a deluge about to smash the southeast.
Drunk teens caught on camera tearing apart a luxury Gold Coast penthouse.
Joe Biden vows to respond after 3 American soldiers are killed in the Middle East.
The at-home health test slammed as a waste of time and money.
New southeast stores slashing the price of produce, undercutting the major supermarkets.
Plus, the Queensland woman learning how to survive in space atop an active volcano.
This is 9 News Queensland.
Good evening. The southeast is right now in the firing line of an extreme weather system expected to smash the region from as early as tonight.
A slow-moving trough is forecast to bring intense rain and thunderstorms over the coming days to already soaked areas, with several flood warnings in place as we go to air tonight.
Along the banks of the Bremer River in Ipswich, the aftermath of a weekend wet still visible. Water levels are slowly receding, but more heavy rain is on the way.
The watch point will be overnight tonight and during Tuesday with a developing coastal trough as well, and that could really enhanced rainfall along parts of the southeast coast and adjacent inland as well.
Southeast Queensland once again in the firing line. Flood warnings already issued, with saturated rivers and creeks simply unable to take much more. Roads and communities likely to once again be cut off.
If it's flooded, forget it. Stay safe, everybody.
Severe thunderstorm warnings for Maranoa and Warrego and the Gold Coast. But tomorrow the danger will extend from Gympie and the Sunshine Coast all the way to the Darling Downs and Granite Belt.
I think the important thing is people are alert at the moment to the fact that the weather can change quickly.
Suffocating humidity across the state, creating ideal conditions for thunderstorms. Overnight, the temperature in Gladstone didn't dip below 27.8 degrees.
In fact, that's an all-time record for the airport site.
Brisbane's humidity higher than Bali and Singapore this morning. By lunchtime, heat stress hospitalised 2 workers at Cross River Rail. It wasn't tools down in Townsville either, where the lights are finally being turned back on after ex-tropical cyclone Kirrily.
So far we've got over 60,000 customers back on from a total of 67, and we're hoping to have we'll be up to 1,000 customers tonight still off, and we hope to have them on by tomorrow night.
Cam Inglis, 9 News.
Well, let's go straight to Lily Greer now at Kangaroo Point. Lily, a severe weather warning now in place for the southeast. Just how much rain could be on the way?
Well, Andrew, what the Bureau is predicting here is pretty staggering. They put out a severe weather warning this afternoon, and that warning area spans from Maryborough, the southern end of Gari, all the way down to Redlands, Stradding, Minjerribah and out to Toowoomba. It is a large part of South Queensland that is in the firing line tomorrow for heavy rainfall. What the Bureau says is likely is rainfall totals of between 80 millimetres and 120 millimetres in some parts. What it says is possible is falls of between 150 and 200 millimetres. That is an extraordinary amount of rain to be falling on catchments that we already know are very wet this time of year, leading to concerns around flash flooding, which we know can turn fatal. The Bureau says this is a really dynamic situation. It's changing. They're going to have an update for us on it tomorrow. They say right now it's way too hard to say exactly where we are going to see those heavier rainfall totals. So over the next 24 hours, what they're asking is that everyone in that warning area keep across the warnings as they come out from the Bureau. If you live near a creek or a waterway or a river that tends to rise quite rapidly when we see these rainfall totals, keep an eye on it tomorrow and make sure to make safe choices. Andrew, Melissa, we are going to be back later in the bulletin with your full weather breakdown as well as the very latest on the warnings from the Bureau.
Talk to you then. Thanks, Lily. A 43-year-old man has been charged with the domestic violence murder of a 30-year-old woman who was found dead at a home near Maryborough yesterday afternoon. It comes after police say the man handed himself into police, alerting them to the crime scene on Old Gympie Road.
The deceased and the offender are previously in a relationship and they are known to police.
Anyone with information, CCTV or dash cam footage of this silver Toyota is urged to contact police. It's believed to have been travelling around the area between 2 and 5 p.m. And if you or someone you know needs help, you can call 1-800-RESPECT on 1-800-737-732.
A murder trial has begun for a Gold Coast mum accused of lacing her 26-year-old son's smoothie with drugs. Live to Anna Rawlings at the Supreme Court. Anna, it's alleged she did this for financial gain.
Well, that's the allegation, Andrew, but Marie Crabtree is denying that she wanted what she's called her son's blood money. Now, the Crown case is that the 57-year-old blended up some summer fruits and added a deadly dose of oxycodone, serving it to her son, Jonathan. And after he died in their Gold Coast home, she allegedly tried to claim more than $100,000 from his life insurance. Now, the court heard Jonathan was vulnerable after suffering injuries in a car crash, but he was troubled and his mother was concerned he'd jeopardised the family's finances after being involved in an alleged armed robbery. Marie Crabtree has pleaded not guilty to charges, including murder and attempted fraud. Melissa, the trial does continue with Marie Crabtree's daughter expected to testify and give evidence about how she allegedly watched her mother prepare that fatal fruit drink.
Thanks, Anna.
Terrifying footage has been shared by a Toowoomba shop owner of a violent attempted break-in. The group, disguised with their shirts wrapped around their faces, trying to smash their way into the vape store. One armed with what appears to be an axe, another with a mattock. For over a minute they attack the building, but when they can't get in, flee in a stolen car. The couple who owned the business were hiding inside during the ordeal. Police are investigating. No arrests have been made.
The government and opposition have hinted at their plans to help first home buyers enter the housing market. The LNP promising more stamp duty concessions as Labor prepares to unveil its housing plan next week.
It's been 16 years since the government introduced nearly $10,000 in stamp duty concessions for first home buyers purchasing a property under $500,000. But $500,000 doesn't go far anymore.
There are only 19 suburbs in Brisbane that have a median at around that point.
The LNP says if elected, they will raise the threshold.
Make no mistake, it cannot stay at $500,000.
But are yet to determine by how much.
UDIA and REIQs have talked about $750,000. The numbers on that are going to have to be investigated.
The Premier argues increasing the concessions increases house prices, with the government opting instead to boost first homebuyer grants.
Because the advice to us was that that was a better value intervention.
While promising more relief with the comprehensive housing plan to be released
over the next couple of weeks.
The opposition leaders also promising to reverse changes to Queensland's voting laws and bring back optional preferential voting at state elections. It would mean Queenslanders could choose whether to number every box on the ballot paper or just vote one for their favourite candidate.
People should have the right to have the choice. They should have that right to exercise that choice.
Reversing the laws is in the LNP's political interests, which insiders admit is why Labor made the changes in the first place.
The voting system that we have here in Queensland is the same as the voting system that exists right across the country.
Tim Arvia, 9 News.
A third man has been charged over a shooting in Brisbane City that left witnesses ducking for cover and streets locked down on Saturday night. The 22-year-old Goodna man was located and arrested at a property in Darra this afternoon, charged with 16 offences, including 4 counts of attempted murder. Police say the man was part of a trio who opened fire, injuring 3 people, 2 of whom faced court today.
An 18-year-old Gold Coast woman remains in a critical condition after her motorcycle collided with a car on the Pacific motorway at Oxenford last night. She was taken to hospital for surgery while the 66-year-old driver of the car was unharmed. Police are investigating whether speed was a contributing factor and urge anyone with dashcam footage to come forward. A ute driver has made a lucky escape after clipping a train at Salisbury in Brisbane's south this morning while running a level crossing light around 7:30. The collision sparked delays to 14 services along the Beenleigh, Airport, Ferny Grove and Gold Coast lines. Services resuming as normal within 3 hours.
The campaigns have officially kicked off in Brisbane for the upcoming council elections. Lord Mayor Adrian Schrinner spruiking his platform today, balancing cost of living pressures with improving lifestyle, promising better roads and public transport. After 5 years in the role, he's being challenged by the Greens, Jonathan Sriranganathan and Brisbane lawyer Tracy Price running for Labor.
The current council, it's been in 20 years and they're tired. We need some new vision and a new fresh approach.
Now more than ever, Brisbane needs an experienced and dedicated team who are absolutely focused on reducing traffic congestion.
Local government elections will take place on March 16.
The federal government says there'll be no alteration to capital gains or negative gearing policies in the wake of the Stage 3 tax changes. The Treasurer today ruling out more tax tinkering, but the Prime Minister was reminded of the broken promise at the Australian Open.
Centre stage on the world stage, about to be upstaged over Stage 3 changes.
The Australian Prime Minister, the Honourable Anthony Albanese. The Deputy Victorian Premier.
What are they booing him for? Because, we've got a heap of rich people over there watching the tennis finals there and they've had a bit of their tax taken off them.
I think it's a well-worn Australian tradition and I don't think we should read too much into it.
The Treasurer tonight not reading too much into backbench suggestions of changes to negative gearing or capital gains taxes. Changes that could help first home buyers, but changes that have been rejected at the ballot box.
We're not contemplating or considering resurrecting the policies that we took to the 2019 election.
Maximum should be 2 to 3 houses. That's it, that you can negative gear.
The new Stage 3 tax cuts will give workers on $90,000 a year an extra $37.10 per week. Workers on $190,000 get an extra $87.10 per week. And tonight they're being told not to expect more.
We're not leaving Scott Morrison's tax cuts in a drawer somewhere and hoping to put them in place at some future point.
This is really very bad news for anybody who cares about productivity, to create greater incentive and opportunity, backing aspirational Australians who want to have a go.
With the economy in the spotlight, there's growing confidence in the government tonight that Wednesday's quarterly CPI figures will confirm another drop in inflation. And that would all but eliminate the chance of an interest rate rise next week. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
One of 4 men convicted over Australia's worst serial killings could soon walk free. Mark Ray Hayden was sentenced to 25 years jail for covering up South Australia's Snowtown bodies in the Barrels murders between 1992 and 1999, during which 11 people were killed. This May, he'll have served his time and be entitled to release. The state government is seeking legal advice to keep Hayden under extended supervision in the community. Killers John Bunting and Robert Wagner are serving life without parole. A serious escalation in the Middle East tonight, with 3 US troops killed in a drone attack carried out by Iranian-backed forces. Fears of a wider war are growing, with the American president warning the US will retaliate.
On this remote and dusty compound, 3 American soldiers dead and almost 3 dozen more injured at the hands of the enemy.
We had a tough day last night in the Middle East. We lost 3 brave souls, and we shall respond.
Iranian-backed militants launching a so-called suicide drone from Syria. Their target, a US outpost called Tower 22. It's located on the Jordan side of the Syrian border. Little is known about its operations, but American forces are in place there as part of an advise and assist mission. This is the first known attack on the base.
It's not clear that Iran necessarily ordered this. What has become clear is that Iran has funded these groups, has provided them with weapons.
The drone strike hit close to the living quarters. America can't explain why its air defence systems failed, but the Pentagon and President are vowing to hit back. We will take all necessary actions to defend the United States, our troops and our interests. Here in Washington, multiple US lawmakers are now calling for strikes against Iran. But there's a fine line between needing to respond and forcing an all-out war in the Middle East.
Well, part of our work here is to make sure as things have happened in the Middle East, is not to have the conflict broaden.
Since the conflict in Gaza erupted, America has tried to temper tensions. There have been more than 150 attacks on US and coalition forces, but none were deadly until now. In Washington, D.C., Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
And Alison joins us now live this evening in Washington. Ali, good evening to you. The US is saying it'll respond at a time and place of its choosing.
Yeah, good evening to you, Andrew. The question is just how far will US President Joe Biden take it? Will he continue to strike Iran proxies like we've seen with the Houthi militants in Yemen? Or will he take it a step further and send a stronger message and strike within Iran's borders? Well, Republican critics here say anything short of a direct strike on Iran would be cowardly. But it comes at a tricky time because negotiators believe they're close to a hostage deal, which would pause military operations in Gaza for 2 months. But any escalation with Iran could jeopardise that deal. Melissa?
Ali, thank you. Shooters have charged into Sunday Mass at a Catholic church in Turkey, killing a man in a targeted attack. Security footage shows 2 masked men enter the Santa Maria Church in Istanbul, opening fire as worshippers throw themselves to the floor. The killers have now been caught. They're believed to have ties to Islamic State.
A small victory tonight for families battling the high cost of childcare. An investigation by the ACCC has recommended a steward be appointed with powers to regulate the industry.
A year-long inquiry, and the ACCC says it's the childcare businesses that are in need of supervision.
We have found that market forces alone are not delivering for all Australians.
A 300-page report proposes installing a market steward with the power to allocate funding, investigate profit margins and apply tighter regulations where needed.
Because we know that reform is needed in this sector.
The inquiry was commissioned after parents copped a 22% increase in childcare costs over 6 years, something industry spokesman Paul Mondo says has been unavoidable.
That those increases are driven by the underlying changes in operational costs.
Federal changes to the subsidy from July have caused prices to fall 11% at childcare centres, but the watchdog and government are now concerned fees will rebound, leaving families worse off.
Every time the government puts more money into early childhood education and care by increasing the childcare subsidy, that money gets eaten up in an increase in fees.
The affordability challenge now means quite a lot of childcare is happening outside centres like this one, by grandparents. 2/3 now provide some sort of childcare, almost always for free. Grandparents like Donna Ganane, who steps in 2 days a week.
I love it. It's just beautiful spending time with the grandkids.
But with not everyone lucky enough to have a Donna, the government is being told to ease the pressure on parents.
When I had my son, I could stay home and we could live on one wage. But how can you now?
Chris Kohler, 9 News.
Penthouse party mayhem. Teens run riot at a Gold Coast complex, urinating off balconies and stealing street signs.
Hailed a hero, the IGA shopkeeper stabbed while defending his store.
How Taylor Swift could sway the US election.
And at the end of sport, your interstellar insight. See what it's like to live on the moon.
An IGA store owner has been stabbed trying to chase down 2 accused shoplifters in Sydney's west. CCTV shows the 47-year-old clutching his side as he defends his store. He's since undergone surgery for the wound. His colleague, who also intervened, was punched in the face. A 31-year-old man and 21-year-old woman have been arrested and charged.
Drunken teens have wreaked havoc during an Australia Day party held at a Palm Beach penthouse. Let's go live now to Isabel Quinlan at Surfers Paradise. Izzy, their behaviour can really only be described as out of control.
Melissa, these revellers were as young as 14 and they were certainly causing chaos in what residents tell me is a usually quiet area. They were seen urinating and throwing beer bottles off the roof of a luxury unit block in Palm Beach. Now, this really was only the beginning of their wild antics. When more partygoers decided to arrive, that's when residents were forced to lock the door of the building, leading to mayhem spilling onto the streets. As you can see in this vision, one partygoer was ripping a street sign from the ground before walking it to the entrance, appearing to try to use it to break in before one of his mates stops him. It all really came to an abrupt end when police arrived at the scene.
From what we understand, an adult was actually hosting a party in that unit block, which invited a number of young people.
It was looking really untidy and it was looking ugly, and I'm just glad that no one got hurt.
Andrew, no one was arrested, but I'm sure these teens got a stern talking to by their parents.
Well, let's hope so. Thanks, Izzy. Her Eras tour drove up hotel prices around the world and saw airlines put on extra flights to keep up with demand. Now a new poll shows Taylor Swift's influence extends far beyond the economy and could change the outcome of the US election. It says up to 18% of voters are more likely to support a presidential candidate in this year's election if the singer endorses them.
Low-price produce, even cheaper than Aldi. The new southeast supermarkets undercutting the big three, with fruit and veg at less than half the cost. Where to buy your groceries without busting the budget and how much you could be saving. That cost of living special is coming up. Pushed to the brink, Queenslanders paying hundreds more than they're earning each week. The shock breakdown.
Cold pumpkin soup pelted at the priceless Mona Lisa.
How grandmothers are taking over the world of video games.
And the woman who put her body on the line for her dog.
9 News, brought to you by Australia's #1 selling vehicle, Ford Ranger.
Dramatic price increases to basic essentials are sending more Queensland households into debt, according to a new report. A campaign launched today demands action from both sides of politics in the lead-up to the state election.
A call to action by frontline services as southeast Queensland becomes the epicentre of the cost of living crisis.
Families are making really, really difficult choices between paying the rent, keeping the lights turned on and putting meals on the table.
A new report by the Queensland Council for Social Service painting a dire picture modelled on 5 low-income households, a single unemployed adult, a single student working part-time, a single unemployed parent of 2, a couple with 2 children and a senior retired couple, all but one going into debt by the end of each week by up to $255.
We've seen a lot more families, working families, coming for support at St Vincent de Paul, and they've never had to do that in the past.
We are noticing a lot more younger people are approaching our services.
Brisbane leading the country with the highest increases to basics.
The prices are never the same when you come back, that's the problem.
Well, I've got 9 people in my house, so I'm spending nearly $400 a week.
Petrol was the basic essential with the steepest price hike, rising by nearly 14% in the year to August. Another 11 household basics also increasing by at least 5%.
Electricity going up more than 12%, 7.4% for transport, food products nearly 7%, education 5.5%.
This election year, there is one question Queenslanders will be asking. Which leader has the courage to make Queensland fair?
It's a priority for us to turn that around.
We've got the biggest cost of living relief package of any state government.
Claire Todd-Hunter, 9 News.
An attempt to intervene in a dog napping has resulted in this wild scene playing out on a street in downtown Los Angeles. A woman was eating lunch with her French bulldog, Onyx, at her feet when someone took his lead, pulling it into their vehicle. When she tried to intervene, she ended up being caught up on top of the getaway car. She wasn't seriously injured, but Onyx is still missing.
There was no smile for the Mona Lisa, the world's most famous artwork, vandalised. 2 protesters were arrested after storming through security at the Louvre in the latest of a string of climate-related demonstrations in Paris.
She rests behind protective glass, and for good reason. Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa targeted by protesters. The duo hurling soup at the 16th century masterpiece and ducking under a security barrier, their T-shirts bearing the words Food Response in French, a climate activist group. What's more important, they scream, art or right to healthy and sustainable food. Museum staff rushing partitions into place and moving visitors on. It comes amid an ongoing protest by farmers who in recent weeks have been using tractors to block roads and slow traffic across the country. They're fighting for more money for their produce, as well as protection against cheap imports and a reduction in red tape. It's a very problematic situation. We want to change that, this food response activist says. It's not the first time the famous artwork has been attacked. In 2022, cake was smeared on its protective glass by a man disguised as an elderly woman in a wheelchair. No way! French police say 2 people were arrested over this latest incident. In London, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
Forget teenagers, women over 50 are the new breed of video gamers, the shifting demographics noticed by developers. They've created a new range of games spawned from puzzles and crosswords on the back of the hugely successful puzzle game Wordle. More than 80% of Australians play video games.
The future of much-loved Australian dessert maker Sara Lee and its 53 years of history has tonight been secured. The business sold to a private company owned by Clark and Brooke Quinn, who were involved in the purchase of Darryl Lea when it was in voluntary administration in 2012. Around 200 jobs have been saved.
Next, alarming new research reveals how effective at-home health tests actually are.
How your morning brew can help or harm your health.
The Southeast supermarket selling produce for less than Aldi.
And Japan jackpot, the airline offering discount flights for just 72 hours.
To finance now, and another positive day on the share market has put the ASX within striking distance of a new record high. Here's finance editor Chris Kohler.
The ASX has now had 6 positive days in a row, taking it within 1% of its highest level ever. But milestones like that get some investors excited and others nervous. The market has struggled to break through these sorts of levels a couple of times in the last few years. Today, the banks and Qantas outperformed, while mining heavyweight BHP gave up some ground. And the Australian dollar is hovering just below 66 US cents. But signs of weakness in the Chinese economy have caused the Commonwealth Bank analysts to forecast a fall. They say by the end of March, one Aussie will be buying 63 US cents.
Checking the fuel prices now, the average for unleaded in Brisbane, $2.05, diesel $1.98. On the Gold Coast, unleaded $2.07, and the other diesel is $1.98.
Online health checks are a rapidly growing market, with some consumers spending thousands of dollars a year. But experts are tonight warning some could be bogus and potentially doing more harm than good.
Online shopping can be a minefield at the best of times, especially when it comes to your health. Buying direct-to-consumer tests a growing market.
I think the most surprising finding was the sheer amount of tests that are being sold out there.
A world-first study from the University of Wollongong identified almost 500 direct-to-consumer test products available to Australians online, with prices ranging from $12.99 to almost $2,000. It found some commercial health checks had limited evidence behind them. Among them, tests to determine biological age, bone health, microbiome analysis and sleep quality. Some other tests, many not recognised by the medical community, include hair analysis for food allergies and tests for leaky gut syndrome and adrenal fatigue. The small percentage of online tests found to have potential clinical use include bowel cancer test kits, STI home tests and cardiovascular disease risk factor tests. Following the COVID pandemic, a lot more people feel confident testing at home, which is why this market has grown so rapidly. However, this study found only 10% of direct-to-consumer tests offer any information that can be usefully acted on.
Online testing can be very empowering for the Australian consumer, but at the same time it's got to be treated with a degree of caution.
It's quite important to consult a healthcare professional who can get a better understanding of the context of your symptoms, get a sense of your medical history.
Zara James, 9 News.
A warning tonight for iced coffee lovers. Cancer Council health experts finding some iced coffee flavoured milks contain nearly an entire day's recommended sugar intake. A 750ml Ice Break regular strength iced coffee has 9 teaspoons of sugar, while a Dare double espresso of the same size has 7.5. The daily recommended sugar intake for an adult is about 12 teaspoons per day.
Fancy a trip to Japan? If you are, you're in luck. For 72 hours only, customers who travel to Tokyo or Osaka direct from Brisbane, Cairns or Sydney will be able to get a return fare for free next month. Members can book now. Everyone else will have to wait till midnight tonight.
The Aussie inspiration behind Yannick Sinner's Grand Slam victory. Reece Walsh opens up on his NFL dreams after a night to remember with Tom Brady.
At the end of sport, the Queensland woman learning to survive in space atop an active volcano.
Heavy rainfall down south, the heatwave up north. What else could this summer throw at us? We're going to have all your weather details coming up very soon.
Good evening. From adversity can come the greatest glory. That's the message the Broncos received from one of the most successful athletes in world sport. Retired NFL superstar Tom Brady is famous for collecting silverware, but he wouldn't have got there without failure along the way.
Hopefully these aren't the first steps of a Reece Walsh code switch.
Did that ever cross your mind?
I think now it does. I think there's a bit more money there, I think.
The 21-year-old wasn't even born when NFL superstar Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl. Cool as ice, playing catch with the man they call the GOAT.
The opportunity there for someone like Reece to go and give a high five to Tom on stage was pretty unique, and catch him throwing a pass as well.
But this was more than just a chance to become fans for a night. While Brady's famous for his 7 Super Bowl rings, it's his 3 losses on the NFL's biggest stage that the Broncos were keen to hear about.
That was something that Tom spoke about tonight. Was that it's wonderful to win, but sometimes your greatest lessons are in some of your greatest challenges. And for him explicitly tonight, he spoke about when he lost the Super Bowl and drew parallels to some of our guys when they lost the grand final last year.
A message others looking to learn from too. Lockie Neal and a pride of Lions also in attendance at the event where tickets cost up to $1,500.
All of them will take away some key valuable lessons, both hopefully in life, but also, into this season.
The Broncos are moving quickly to lock down their future, as Ramam reportedly agreeing to a new deal, while Tavita Pangai Jr. is on the radar as a mid-season signing just months after announcing his retirement.
He's had a second think about that and wants to come back to the sport. I think the sport will be better for it wherever he goes, but he certainly has our blessing to go wherever he likes.
Mark Gottlieb, 9 News.
2024 is the year Jeremy Marshall-King wants to cement his reputation as the NRL's best 80-minute hooker after injury restricted him last season. The Dolphins' rake is relying on his new combination with Tom Flegler to transform the side into a powerhouse.
No, I can do that, and I'm fit enough now with the training we're doing now. A lot different to last year's team. It's a lot better side, and the team that we've got right now, and our plan is to make that top 8 and go from there.
Meanwhile, Anthony Milford is keen to prove he'll be fit in time for next weekend's first trial. Australia's batsmen have struggled this summer, but coach Andrew McDonald has called for calm, adamant the new lineup will strike success. Their form slump helping the West Indies claim their drought-breaking victory, celebrated around the globe.
Heading home after an historic loss. Australia now looking ahead with no concerns for its new-look batting lineup.
No, definitely not. No, we're not in the mood to change the batting order. We feel like as a collective that unit will be able to have success.
Despite the defeat, Andrew McDonald saw enough in the second innings from Cameron Green and Steve Smith to say their switch is a success.
That's been spoken about publicly around, is that the right move? But felt like in this game, and the 91 not out was a significant knock, and the way he was able to control it and give us an opportunity, that was a huge positive. Cameron Green got some time in the middle. He can start slow, there's no doubt about that, and that's something that he's working on. Once he's up and going and moving well, it's a pretty good side.
Marnus Labuschagne not as comfortable. His coach conceding he has fallen into a form slump.
He's been undone by certain plans at times, so there's no doubt he'll be looking into that as he normally does. He'll get busy, he'll get back to work, but there's no doubt that you're going to go through some lulls of form. If you want to call it that. But we expect him to bounce back.
Australia's batting woes were somewhat lost in the celebration of a West Indies victory. And Shamar Joseph.
I still cannot believe it. His life's just like a fairy tale.
The breakout star swapping shirts and signatures with Pat Cummins, arriving in the Test arena where he now wants to stay, despite temptation from T20.
I love it. I love Test cricket. Test cricket is so good. I enjoy playing Test cricket. For my only 2 Test matches I play, I feel like I play 100 Test matches so far. It's just amazing.
Sam Jordan, 9 News.
The new generation of tennis has arrived after Jannik Sinner won his first Grand Slam at the Australian Open, and there was an Aussie coach in his corner making it happen. The Italian battling back to beat an exhausted Daniil Medvedev in 5 sets.
From behind the bushes, tennis's new Grand Slam star emerges. After a night Jannik Sinner will never forget.
Sinner seals the deal with an epic comeback.
I didn't sleep much, but great emotions, slowly realising what I've done. It's a great achievement for me and my team.
In the Italians' corner, Australian Darren Cahill, the legendary coach mentoring another major talent after Andre Agassi, Simona Halep and our own Leighton Hewitt.
He has a lot of experience, which helped us to handle the situation and the pressure in the right way.
Cahill's cool head kept Sinner composed as he fought back from 2 sets down to defeat Daniil Medvedev.
Once you get to a 4th or 5th set, it really just becomes about what lies inside you. And he had the answers inside him.
The 22-year-old's name now engraved alongside Novak Djokovic after ending his decade-long dominance down under. And Sinner says it won't stop here, confident this can be the changing of the guard.
I think the next generation is something what the sport needs.
It's important they do what Jannik was able to do today, and that's to show a side of this young generation that are going to fight to the very end, and they really want to make a name for themselves.
Zach Bailey, 9 News.
The Socceroos are into the quarterfinals of the Asian Cup, beating Indonesia 4-0. It wasn't their best performance, but a pair of late goals was enough for Coach Graham Arnold to declare their campaign is now starting to come together. The Diamonds' overflowing trophy case needs to make room for another piece of silverware, winning the inaugural Netball Nations Cup over England 69-49. The world champions looked a class above all match, with shooter Sophie Garvin missing just 1 attempt in a dominant performance, blowing the Roses away. The stage for Super Bowl 53 is set. The San Francisco 49ers coming from behind to beat the Detroit Lions 43-31 to book their place in the greatest show in sport, where they'll take on the Kansas City Chiefs, who defeated the Baltimore Ravens by 7. Travis Kelce scoring a touchdown before celebrating with partner Taylor Swift on the field at full time. And just quickly, Lofty and Melissa, double disappointment for Australia at the Rugby Sevens over in Perth, beaten in the finals. But look, it is an Olympic year, so that result's still very encouraging.
Better things ahead for rugby, huh?
Let's hope so.
Thanks, Jono. Ever wondered what it might be like to live on the moon? Well, a Brisbane researcher has spent 2 weeks simulating survival up in space, and tonight she's sharing her experience.
It's as close as you can get to moonwalking while remaining right here on Earth.
OK, we're about to head into a lava tube. It is slightly daunting.
QUT researcher Lauren Fell's passion for astronomy taking her to Hawaii inside a 1,200 square foot dome simulation atop the largest active volcano in the world.
You're totally locked in, so for the 2 weeks you've got this kind of fuzzy window to the outside, or if you step outside you're in a suit, you're in the helmet.
Surrounded by bare, rocky terrain in freezing temperatures, the High Seas Analog Space Research Station is hardly luxury living.
There's a composting toilet, not a flushing toilet. A kitchen, there's an area where we exercise, which we do an hour every day. I just finished my exercise for the day and thought I'd cap it off with a lunar gravity walk.
But Lauren's moon mission was all in the name of science.
Putting some plants on the moon to see if they can grow as a really early step towards having plants more permanently and sustainably.
One small step toward the great leap of supporting human life there too.
Landing on there and living there for a couple of months might be interesting, might be something that I could do.
Abby Gearin, 9 News.
In just 3 minutes, low-price produce, even cheaper than Aldi. The new southeast stores undercutting the big 3 supermarkets, with fruit and veg at less than half the cost. That cost of living special is moments away. First, though, Lily is back with a check on the weather. Lily, when is this rain expected to set in?
Well, Melissa, we could start to see some rain tonight. We know the drizzle's already started to set in down on the Gold Coast, but the Bureau is anticipating those heavier falls to set in from tomorrow morning. We're going to have all your latest details on that weather warning coming up very soon, as well as some news just in about heatwave conditions impacting the north.
As the cost of living bites Queensland households, keeping up with the price of fruit and vegetables is becoming a challenge. But independent fruit barns say they're stepping up, slashing the cost of fresh produce and grocery staples.
Fruit and veg less than half the price you'll pay at the big supermarkets.
It's a big difference.
They're far cheaper than the supermarkets, and I think their quality is far better.
Customers are becoming more smart with their shopping and realising that they can save money by shopping elsewhere and not just sticking to one chain store.
And across the southeast, independent fruit barns want more supermarket customers to give them a go and compare prices. Some even choosing to make a loss on specials.
I would prefer to lose a little bit of money and ensure, people can put food on the table and feed their family at a reasonable price.
Buying fresh at the markets daily, they say, helps to keep prices down.
So we're in the markets every morning buying fresh stock. So we're able to offer discounted prices because we just don't put the same markup on that the supermarkets do.
We compared prices and found at Skippy's at Victoria Point, a 5 kilogram bag of brushed potatoes was $1.99. At Woolworths, a 4 kilogram bag selling for $8. T-Bones at Aspley pricing Calypso mangoes for 98 cents. At Aldi, they're $2.99 each. Also on special at T-Bones, Pink Lady apples, $1.48 a kilo, compared to $4.90 a kilo at Coles.
At the front of our shop we have buckets, so the buckets have maybe 2 or 3 kilos of something and the price will be $5 cheaper than a chain store.
You can find independent fruit barns across the southeast, from Bouval to Southport, not only selling cheap produce but other groceries too. Their daily deals easy to find on Facebook and even TikTok.
Yellow nectarines here, 5 kilo tray, $10.
Great specials, seasonal produce. I highly recommend anybody to support their local grocer.
Ashlyn Krukellis, 9 News.
Well, time for your full weather forecast now. Back to Lily Greer. Lily, a few days of extreme weather could be on the way for us.
Yeah, that's right, Andrew. Extreme is one word from it, but this really is just another case of Queensland summer throwing us another curveball. We know we've got some heavy rainfall that is on the cards starting from tomorrow morning, with falls of up to 200 millimetres possible in some parts of southeast Queensland. But on the other hand, Queensland Health has just put out an alert this evening for extreme heatwave conditions affecting far north and North Queensland. Queenslanders, that is for the tropical north coast and for the tablelands. They could see extreme heat over the next couple of days until Thursday, but a lot of those regional towns from the Wide Bay, Burnett region north, they're going to experience severe heat over the next week. So they are being asked to keep an eye out for those around them who don't fare so well in the heat, and to really take note of their health over the coming days, because it is going to be incredibly warm. But speaking of warm temperatures, let's get stuck into what temperatures the southeast saw today. It was mostly around the 30-degree mark in most places, 31 at the sunny coast and at Redcliffe, the same in Brisbane and down at Coolangatta. From up above, you could see a huge trough hanging over Queensland. That trough is expected to sharpen tomorrow. It's going to move south, bringing humidity showers and storms with it. Taking a look around the country now, a top of 29 and a shower or two in Sydney, partly cloudy. Cooler in Melbourne, 24, 31 in Darwin, 36 and very sunny over in Perth, the pick of the bunch, I would say. Back home now and up north, Cairns, it's going to be sweltering, 35 degrees for the next couple of days. Townsville, you deserve a break, but unfortunately it's going to still be hot and rainy over the next few days. 34 in Mackay, 32 in Gladstone. In the southeast corner, rainy in most, and most patches will have the chance of a thunderstorm tomorrow too. 25 at Mullaney, 27 at Caboolture, the same down at Mount Gravatt, and down at Surfers, it's going to be between 24 and 27 degrees. Out on the bay tomorrow, winds will be easterly, 15 to 20 knots, and seas are going to be between 1 and 1.5 metres. Now in Brisbane tomorrow, we have the threat of a thunderstorm thunderstorm, and it's going to be pretty rainy tomorrow. As for the week ahead, temperatures are going to be warming up as we approach the weekend. That threat of rain is going to start to clear up too. A mostly sunny day on Friday, so something to look forward to there. Ipswich, very similar story. The rain clearing up on Thursday, a warm one on Friday, a whopping 35 degrees there. Down on the Goldie, like much of the southeast, conditions clearing as we head to the later end of the week, and up on the Sunshine Coast, stormy skies over the next couple of days. So guys, the warning over the next couple of days is to take care with all of those rain and thunderstorms of the way. The good news is that the humidity that we've been experiencing over the last week, it is expected to break late on Wednesday as those southeasterly winds kick in.
That is good news at least, Lily. Thank you. Before we go, here's a look at a story you won't want to miss tomorrow night.
Brisbane mould crisis. Record rainfall plus horrendous humidity. Now, new budget solutions to protect your food, clothes, home and health. 9 News tomorrow.
Good night.